Hello, this is a process video about how I do up my 3D resin toy called Woochie. It comes in a charcoal edition, and as you can see, I'm using willow charcoal to add to where it needs to be darkened. And the excess can be patted off with the kneadable eraser. And then I'll come in with this rough bristle brush to spread the charcoal, get it into the grooves, and get it into a nice gradient. It's a wonderful tool for blending. So then this is a pretty much rinse and repeat process. The whole process of doing up a charcoal version takes roughly 30 to 40 minutes, and what you see here is a sped up version. You can see here that the horns are nicely charcoaled up, and what I'll do is that I'll go in with the kneadable eraser again to take away from the top edges. In this sense, it doubles up as like a highlighter of sorts. The hard bristle brush does a wonderful job of blending, as mentioned. It spreads the charcoal around in a very even tone. I do use my fingers at times to spread the charcoal, but then that would also take away more than it spreads. Or I would end up spreading it over a wider area than intended because fat fingers. So yeah, I would use the brush if we're trying to get into like a really tight corner or a crevice. We are teasing out the texture on Woochie's stumpy feet. At this point, the charcoal medium is still malleable in a sense, like it's still relatively loose and can come off with ease if you use the kneadable eraser on your hand, so it still comes off. But when we complete the charcoal Woochie, we'll actually spray on a top coat of fixative, and that would make the charcoal stick. It would be around 2 to 3 coats just to be sure, after which the piece can be held and it can withstand some abrasive action without really snowing charcoal or smudging fingers and the likes. So it's pretty safe after we fixed it. So just a little bit more about me and my 3D journey. I'm a 2D artist illustrator who works in charcoal and watercolor. And Woochie here is the first toy that I made from scratch with tons of help and advice from people in the 3D scene. I've been super lucky. I have a studio mate who actually does 3D printing. His name is Han Yang and he's from Funby Studios. If you're interested in 3D printed geek dreams, yeah, they do props and minis for D&D games and such. Do give them a follow on Facebook or Instagram at Funby Studios. Yeah, so we've been experimenting with resin for a little over a year now. So I think it was only natural for my creations to extend into the 3D realm, seeing as most resources were readily available for me. Initially, I only ever thought of my creatures from a 2D perspective, never like in a full 360 view of it. So it was a slight struggle in creating the prototype. The first Woochie was sculpted digitally in Sculptress. It's a free entry-level sculpting software. And the file was then 3D printed, and the 3D printed object was subsequently sculpted on with paper clay to kind of pile on the details. So the 3D printing kind of acted as more of a base body shape. So once I got this prototype to a level of finishing that I'm happy with, we made a silicone mold for it and got down to resin casting. And that's what you're looking at. It's a resin cast from the mold that we made. And it'll come out white. And then we'll have to add on the charcoal for the charcoal edition. I think the struggle was so worth it though, because when I get to hold my creations in my hands, it's so awesome. It makes my imagination that much more tangible in a sense. Anyways, more information on Woochie's pre-order. That is happening this Friday, the 8th of December, so mark your calendars, people. We'll be accepting pre-orders worldwide, so if you'd like to adopt one, you only just have to head on down to trivialities.bigcartel.com. The Woochies available would be white and charcoal. So that's the edition that you see on the screen here. We are also offering them as a set, one white and one charcoal. And your orders will be shipped from January 2018. Woochie here is the first of this series called The Blot Beasts. Definitely not the last, there will be more to come. They are basically creatures from a black and white world, which explains their coat that is devoid of color. And the way that I went about capturing a beast, so to speak, was to look for shapes and we take their silhouettes as a starting point. And that shape will set the tone for how the creature will look like, what pose it will assume, and what special features it will have. So it's all pretty instinctive and spontaneous kind of process, in that I let the shape take me to places instead of micromanaging the direction and overthinking. The reward came back a million folds just by letting go. It's truly rewarding. So we've got a whole mini little village of 2D creatures waiting for their turn to step into our colorful 3D world. And that puts world building on the to-do list at the moment. So if you're on board with that idea, follow me at trivialities on Instagram to see how this pans out. And if you're really, really nice, please spread the word, share with your friends and families, tell the world, and I sincerely thank you in advance from the bottom of my heart for your kind support. Our Charcoal Woochie is almost complete now. The eyes were the part that I had to be really, really, really careful with. I had to make sure that the charcoal doesn't get everywhere, or at least where it's not supposed to be. In some areas, the resin might be slightly porous, and if charcoal ends up there but it's not supposed to be there and you try to rub it off, that would create a stain, like a gray stain, and that can only be cleared off by sanding, or we'll have to kind of carve it up and then sand it again, and that would be work that I'd like to avoid if possible. The muzzle part of Woochie is, because around this area is kind of smooth and polished, so at times it might be difficult to darken with the willow charcoal. If I were to keep using the willow charcoal, it'd be rinse and repeat forever. And so in cases like this, I'd switch up to the compressed charcoal or Conte pencil, and they both adhere a tad better. And they're also more black than gray, so that definitely gives more definition where I need it. And then I'll use the bristle brush all over again to blend everything. Yeah. Once again, best blending tool ever. And there we have it. We started off with one white and one charcoal woochie, and now we have two charcoal woochies. Thank you for watching!